Hello and welcome back to another episode of 5 Minute Materials. Today we're going to be looking at the min and the max nodes. So, min and max, what are they for? Min and max. Each of these has two inputs. Essentially what they will do is min will choose the lower of the two inputs and output it on the other end, and max will do the other. It will choose the higher value and spit it out. Now, if you're doing something like 0 and 1, and we chuck that into base color, you can see that we get 1 on this plane here. 1, white is 1. And for the min, if we have 0 and 1, we get 0 as the output. So, thank you very much, and no, I'm just kidding. Why do I always do that? It's not even funny. So, what can we actually use these for? Well, if you are familiar with the clamp node, also the saturate node, which is just a kind of hard-coded 0 to 1 clamp that is cheaper. Essentially what max and min are one-way clamps. Let's say we had some value that was going from like negative 1,000 up to positive 1,000. Maybe it's like a world position coordinate or some, effect that we're doing. And we wanted to be like, okay, well, I don't want any of the negative values. I want to truncate the negative values. You could use a clamp and set the max to like, super mega giga high. But that's a bit of a waste. That's a bit of a waste of, well, space. And it's also a waste of a computation because obviously, it has to clamp it on the upper end. So in the case of, let's say we've got a gradient, I'm just going to grab a linear gradient. We're going to get the U channel and, let's say it's our input and we're going to put this to base color, and let's also just set that to 0 and we'll put a parameter in there for now. As we change the parameter, it kind of gets darker and darker. You can almost see this optical illusion line forming. And, obviously that then goes down to 0. So this is just clamping it on one side only using a, like a static global value. So the other way that min and max are commonly used, if you're familiar with Photoshop and the layer blend modes, min and max essentially act as lighten and darken. So let's say I've got, again, this gradient here, and this gradient here, which is black on this side, the other one's black on this side. So if I said max these gradients over one another, then it's just going to choose the higher value from both of them. And if I did min, it will choose the lower value out of both gradients. So this is different, again, to multiplying them together, which would give us a different looking, gradient. You can see that kind of clamped line diagonal disappears. And that's because when we're multiplying down this end, so we're multiplying this one's 0.5 by this one's 0.5, which is 0.25, which is why we get this sort of darker region in the corner. When we're using min, it's saying, okay, we've got this gradient's 0.5, and we've got this gradient's 0.5. We're just going to choose 0.5, which is why we get this kind of diagonal optical illusion line that isn't actually any brighter. It's just a weird optical illusion. Now, this does work for textures. So if we have a texture sample, let's just grab like a noise texture. We've got the R noise here. So the way this differs from multiplying, if we just get one of the gradients and multiply it by this noise, and then we compare that to min of the noise, and there is min. And then obviously we can do the same with max. It's just going to be the opposite kind of thing. Bam, bam, bam. And there we go. So again, this is just choosing the higher value of the two. Now you can plug, colored values into the min and the max, and what it will do is just essentially break it into 3 and apply it, one by one for each color. So it'll break it into RG and B, max each of them, or min each of them, and then give you the result. Whereas in Photoshop, I believe it would desaturate everything first, then apply, the masking and stuff. So somewhere that I use these a lot is in the Prismatiscape upcoming update, like the rivers and the foam water update stuff. So each sort of type of foam has its own mask. There's a lot of masking, in here. A lot of those masks are maxed over the top of one another. So you can just chain a lot of maxes together instead of necessarily adding them together, which can, let's say you've got a lot of masks that are between 0 and 1, and you want to combine them all without going over 1, you could max them all together, and it will just choose for any given pixel, choose the highest value of all of the ones that we've combined together, rather than adding them all on top of each other, which increases the values, further and further. So that is the min and the max nodes. Very simple, very useful, and very cool. So thank you very much for watching. If you do want to support monetarily, you can do so for as little as $1 per month. The Patreon in the description, and make sure you are subscribed for a very full Prismaticary year ahead. So with that, we say goodbye. Goodbye.